The original Battlefront II turns 20 this year. That's right, it's been 2 decades since we were introduced to hero battles, crashed our ship in space combat, and failed to protect that stupid Jedi library. And in this video, I wanted to revisit this classic Star Wars game to see how well it's aged in the past 20 years. Now, I'm going to be playing the PC version of the original Battlefront 2, which is still available on Steam. I love the PlayStation 2 version, but the PC game does run at a much higher resolution and has improved visuals, plus it still has working online servers. But if you still wanted that console experience with the superior menus, you can get the original Xbox version of Battlefront 2 on the Xbox Store. And this version has been upscaled to run at a higher resolution, so it's the best of both worlds. Okay, with that being said, let's begin by going through the Battlefront 2 campaign. This will give us a good overview of most of the maps, along with all the main gameplay mechanics. Now, the first game's campaign was pretty much just a collection of maps tied together with some basic voiceover. For Battlefront 2, Pandemic realized they needed to add a bit more substance to the campaign, and so they decided to have it follow the 501st Legion through the Clone Wars and into the Galactic Empire. Don't get me wrong, the campaign is still primarily there to showcase the game's maps and mechanics, but Battlefront 2 does give it a bit more substance, most notably getting Tim Morrison himself to provide some overly dramatic voiceovers between the missions.
My first day as a member of the 501st. It was hot, it was sandy, chaotic. Nothing at all like the simulations on Camino.
We start on Geonosis, and unlike Battlefront 1, this game does hold the player's hand a bit more, introducing him to all the basic mechanics, the command post system, and the different classes. But I must say, 20 years later, it's still super cool to see all of these clones swarming out of the trenches.
Super battle droids, take him down! Check your fire!
Yes, sometimes it's obvious that they're not actually shooting anyone, but it's more about conveying the feel of the battle. And yes, there's still plenty of jank in this game, like playing peekaboo with the acclimator and the big old seam in the Geonosis sky. But let's be honest, these things weren't quite as evident being played on a 14-inch 420p screen on a PlayStation 2. Alright, make my day, battle droid. Oh, damn it, nobody saw that, right? Of course, it's not long before the game introduces its most beloved new feature, the playable heroes. Look at Mace, he's looking all shy to go out and engage in war crimes. And all these years later, the Jedi are as fun to play as ever. Yes, they're a bit janky, and they have a moon jump, but it's just so satisfying to run around the battlefield chopping everything up. Did anyone else used to jump on the walker and ride it into battle? Soldier, are you trying to avoid combat? Return to the battlefield. I claim this victory for the Republic. Oh no, Hardburn. I've got to say, this is one of the most fun tutorials as far as Star Wars games go. Sure, it's janky as hell, but I appreciate all the little details like the dancing gong droid and the fact that they included the Phase 1 clone armor. The campaign then moves to Mygeeto. You see, Battlefront 2 was a bit of a Revenge of the Sith tie-in as it came out the same time as the DVD. So LucasArts were really pushing the planets and characters from Episode 3, and I think they did a really great job with this map. It really does feel like a chaotic battlefield in the mist with dropships overhead and tanks on the ground. Oh no, they've got ray shields. Well, it's a good thing Ki-Adi-Mundi used to be an Olympic-level gymnast in his past life. Now's your chance, Mr. Longhead. Take out the clones before they betray you. Ah, damn it, struck down by a time paradox. Be very, very quiet. We're hunting droidicas. Another welcome feature in Battlefront 2 is the ability to run. Out of the way, I've got Palpatine's precious crystals and essential oils. God damn it. And then we come to this game's other big new feature, the space battles. This one was, and remains, a bit of a mixed bag. On the surface, the idea of introducing space battles is a no-brainer. Jumping into a ship from the hangar and then flying into the battle, taking out enemy fighters and landing inside the enemy ship to sabotage it sounded amazing. And visually, it does look pretty decent. The developers packed the environments with enough ships and detail. Unfortunately, it's the gameplay that sort of lets things down. It doesn't matter what planet you're hovering over, it's kind of always the same thing. You pick away at the command ships from the outside, and then get inside and sabotage the engines and the life support. And also the mouse and keyboard flying controls are really rough on PC. What made the ground sections of Battlefront work so well was the freedom to take over the battlefield in whichever way you liked. You can choose which command post to take over first, which vehicles to pilot, and which classes to use. It was a sandbox, and you can see the developers tried to adapt all of those same elements into space, but I think they just ran out of time to implement them properly, and what we ended up with was a bit of a repetitive grind. And it looks like they knew it too, because they introduced an option to skip the space battles in the campaign. Free Radical would try to refine and expand the space battles in the third game, adding them into the larger Battlefield sandbox, but sadly, that game was cancelled. When it comes down to it, I actually think the ships were probably better utilized in the original game, where they were just novelties that you could jump into, fly around for a bit before returning to the battlefield. Now, just a quick moment to say that if you're enjoying this video or enjoyed my channel over the years, then you like my new book, Loading Screens and Memory Cards. A nostalgic look back at growing up gaming in the 90s and 2000s. Each chapter focuses on a different part of the experience, from Christmas mornings to split-screen birthday parties, console wars, playing handhelds with friends, and all the weird peripherals we used to waste money on. The book is available now. Please see the banner up top or the video description for details. And now back to the video. Okay, next up in the campaign is Fallujah, where we take on the janky Acklay. We then defend the downed walker, play capture the flag with Ayla Sakura, and finally destroy a few turrets. And this is a good example of how Battlefront II mixes up a few gameplay elements to make the campaign more than just capture another command post. Also, back in the day, this was the most visually intense level in the game, so much so that it would run super choppy on the old PCs. These days on modern hardware, you can see the developers had to make a few shortcuts by using all this fog. The same thing is true on the Kashyyyk level, where the grass grows 10 feet in front of you when you run. But let's give the developers some slack. After all, they only had about a year to develop this entire game, so you should expect some jank. The Kashyyyk level is a slightly reworked version of the one from the first Battlefront. It's another large stage that's really good at conveying the feeling of chaos on the battlefield. One faction starts off on top of the hill, with the other one being all the way in the ocean. And this really provides for a fun back and forth tug-of-war type battle. This map also lets you play as Yoda, who kind of moves like an ice skater when he's running. What are they looking at? Look, there's no one there.
For the Chancellor!
Next up in the campaign is Utapau, and if you're counting, that's 4 Revenge of the Sith maps in a row now. This one has become another fan favorite thanks to its open design, meaning that no command post is safe for long. Plus, in the campaign level, you can play as Obi-Wan and take on Grievous at the end. This is followed by probably the most memorable level in the campaign, the Assault on the Jedi Temple. This was where we first learned that the Jedi employed a private security firm. Excuse me, Jedi sir, please, can you stop doing that, please? God damn it, defending these stupid shells was and remains one of the most frustrating parts of this game. Leave a comment below with your strategy. Did you go up and down trying to protect as many shells as you could, or just pick one and try to protect it? Look, this Jedi's a tricky one. Let's try a sticky grenade to the face. Didn't expect that, did you? And then finally you get to play as moody Anakin himself. This is gonna be easy. Damn it. Wait, hold on. Wait, what? Oh no. Looks like Palpatine would have been better off keeping Dooku alive. After 5 brand new Revenge of the Sith levels, the game throws in a filler level and recycles the Theed map from the first game, only this time at night. And you can see the shortcuts the developers had to take. I mean, look, that's just a Queen Amidala model. But that's okay, because up next we have another Revenge of the Sith map, this time on Mustafar. Alright men, let's take down the last of these droids. God damn it, wrong door. I'll be honest, this was always the one level I skipped growing up. It had a weird layout and was either too dark or too bright, and whilst it's still far from my favorite, I've only just now come to realize how faithful it is to the movie. Look, we've got the landing pad at the start, the control room where Anakin and Obi-Wan fought, then the walkway, and even those big 3 struts that bent when the lava hit them. There's even the boardroom where Anakin took out the Separatist leaders. I also find it funny how this game has everything in this relatively small map. Meanwhile, the Revenge of the Sith game makes it seem like a giant factory that took Anakin an hour to get through before he reached the boardroom. Next is the Camino map, and I appreciate that Battlefront 2 didn't just straight out reuse many of these maps from the first game. Sure, we got Theed, which is the same, but Geonosis, Kashyyyk, and Camino have been redesigned. Sure, there are fans who prefer the original Geonosis map, but I think Battlefront 2 has the superior Camino map. Boba Fett, the most dangerous bounty hunter in the game. Ah, damn it, I've been sniped. This is also one of my favorite levels in the campaign, because instead of just pitting the stormtroopers up against the rebels, it's actually the stormtroopers taking on the Gen 1 armor clones. And this was probably the first instance of a clone uprising, something that would continue to be explored all the way into the Disney era with the Bad Batch. I mean, look, there's even a bit where you've got to steal the DNA sample, which would become a big plot point in the series. I do also like how this level used the voiceover to try and connect the events of the campaign to the wider story.
The bounty hunter left after the battle was over. He said something about tracking down a smuggler on Tatooine.
Next up is the Death Star, and this is another fan favorite. It's amazing how many locations from the movie it tries to squeeze into this map. We've got the hangar, the detention facility, the prison cells, the secret hatch which leads to the trash compactor, which will slowly close and kill you, causing the game to jank out. There's also the tractor beam area and the actual super laser, and look, it actually fires. We've even got the Imperial meeting room. Now, to include this map in the campaign took some canonical gymnastics. After all, how can you have all of these rebels on the Empire's brand new secret base? Well, apparently there was a prison riot and a bunch of rebels broke out. Sure, I guess they have prison cells after all, but how the f*** did this Jedi get here? And they don't even bother explaining it.
Troopers, there is a Jedi in the TIE hangar. He is the source of this rebellion. Destroy this man.
The 501st are then sent to hunt down the Death Star plans, which takes them to, you guessed it, another Revenge of the Sith map. This time it's Polis Massa. It's amazing, Battlefront 2 literally features every new planet seen in that movie. The only exception is Cato Nimordia, and even then Battlefront 3 was going to make that into the map. And they were really grasping at straws with this one because realistically we only saw the establishing shot and then the area where Padme gives birth. So the developers had to build out all these corridors, command areas, lobbies, caves, and this outside section which has no oxygen. I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna make it. Ah, damn it, so close. And this section was always really nice for a little tank battle with your friends. Next up is the Tentive 4 map, which in the campaign is supposed to take place right at the start of A New Hope. This is another popular map. It's tight and encourages a lot of chaotic action. And this is evident in the campaign. As soon as you go through that first door, you're gonna blow up. You do get to play as Vader in this map, and if you survive long enough, you actually have to use him to chop down Leia. Oh no, she's killed him instead. This is followed by another space battle. Now, I haven't really covered them after the first instance because they're all kind of the same, but this one does actually fit into the narrative quite well. It's set right after the destruction of the Death Star, with the Empire trying to stop the rebels escaping Yavin. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Yes, yes, I've got him. No, don't fly into me. The Empire then goes down planetside, and you do play through another recycled Battlefront 1 map. I mean, it's a fun map, but yeah, they just reused it from the first game. And speaking of which, the final campaign level is set on Hoth, and this map is about 75% the same as the one from the original game. Only this time, you play as the Empire in the campaign. And I love spawning in and realizing you're standing in the shadow of the AT-AT. And then you can get in and just blast the snow speeders out of the sky. The super white environment does highlight some of the jank, but you know what? The jank is kind of part of the experience. After all these years, it's become part of Battlefront 2's gameplay language. Also, I still think this is one of the best representations of Hoth in any game. Yes, it's basic and the upper 50% of the screen is just a big JPEG, but it feels like Hoth. The developers managed to capture the spirit of the original trilogy with the way the Tauntauns move through the snow and the ATST stumble around while a snow speeder soars overhead. It just feels like Star Wars with a bit of jank. Oh, come on, Walker, just crouch down a tiny bit. The end of the mission is where you see the alterations to the map. Going through the tunnels leads you to the area in the back where the Falcon has now been relocated, along with a rebel transport outside. After you blow up the transport, you see the final cutscene, which frames the Empire as this glorious, victorious force looking out for the best interests of the galaxy. And that's it for the campaign. Look, it's definitely not the most in-depth campaign in a Star Wars game, but I think it does a good job of introducing the player to all the maps and gameplay mechanics, and I do applaud it for having the balls to let you play as the villains and lean right into it. Also, a shout out to the Dagobah map, which didn't make it into the campaign. I guess it was just too much of a stretch for the developers to think of a reason why a big battle would have taken place outside Yoda's hut. Some of the other classic maps from the first game, like Endor, Jabba's Palace, and Mos Eisley, make a return. Plus, the Xbox Store version also includes the Cloud City, Yavin 4 Arena, and Ranvar maps, which are also available on PC via mods. This means that in its current state, Battlefront II boasts a very impressive 22 ground maps, which makes for some great galactic conquest, this game's other big single-player mode. Well, single-player on PC, the console version actually let you play it in co-op, and this mode on console is still as fun as it ever was. It's one of those classic gaming pleasures, having a friend over and spending the entire evening conquering the galaxy one planet at a time. The only downside are the space battles, which are as repetitive as ever. And look, Battlefront 2's galactic conquest is nothing groundbreaking, it never was, but it adds just enough strategy and customization to the existing sandbox to make it really fun. But of course, Battlefront 2 had a bunch of other game modes. The hero mode is pretty bare bones by modern standards, but there's still something undeniably fun about it. It's just a chaotic arena where iconic characters run at each other swinging sabers and spamming abilities with zero subtlety. And yet that simplicity is exactly why it works. It just feels like a messy Star Wars action figure fight brought to life. Hunt mode is bizarre, but it's impossible not to smile whilst playing it. There's just something hilarious about running around Tatooine as a Tusken Raider taking out waves of Jawas, or running around as an Ewok throwing spears at stormtroopers. It really does capture that playful spirit that made the first two Battlefront games so special. The PC mode also featured Excel mode for some of the bigger maps like Geonosis and Kashyyyk. Back in the day, it threw in what felt like an absurd number of units, making the battles feel massive. These days, it does feel a little less impressive, but it does give a new bonkers chaotic dimension to some of these maps. Magnificent, aren't they? Hey, what? Dude, come on, what the fuck? I'm trying to admire the Excel clone army here. And of course, no Battlefront 2 retrospective would be complete without mentioning the online. For many of us, playing this game online back in the day was a rite of passage. Massive 64-player battles, chaotic skirmishes with friends, and those unforgettable moments when an entire lobby would descend on a single command post. And 2 decades later, people are still playing it on PC. Sure, the numbers aren't what they used to be back in the day, or even last year during the Classic Collection backlash, and yes, the player count does swing depending on the day and time, but the fact that you can still hop on and find a match tells you everything you need to know about this game's impact and staying power. And so, there we have it, Star Wars Battlefront 2, 20 years later. This game is janky, rough around the edges, and some of the maps have been clearly stitched together last second, but none of that stops it from being one of the most charming and replayable Star Wars experiences ever made. The maps, the atmosphere, the music, the sound effects, and the simple pick-up-and-play formula just come together to make an amazing experience. And that's why it worked. At its core, Battlefront 2 wanted to throw you into the Star Wars universe and let you cause chaos. Be it chopping down droids as Yoda, or sprinting across Geonosis with 50 clones by your side, or riding atop an AT-AT on Hoth. Despite the short development cycle and the jankiness, Pandemic Studios were able to develop a game that feels alive. And its legacy speaks for itself. The fact that people are still playing this game 2 decades later, still modding it, still running servers, still arguing about which map is the best, says everything. Pandemic Studios' Battlefront II most definitely still holds up. But that's just my take. Please let me know your memories of Battlefront 2 in the comments below. Do you think it still holds up? What's your favorite map? And how many times did you fail the Jedi Temple mission? As always, thanks for watching. Please consider supporting me on Patreon, and a big thanks to my existing patrons. If you've enjoyed this video, then please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.